Good evening, everybody. My name is Scott Jacobs, and you're listening to Juiced Sports Radio. Got an interesting discussion for you today about the NFL Pro Bowl, which apparently could be in jeopardy of going by the wayside. Roger Goodell said recently that the NFL is actually considering getting rid of the NFL Pro Bowl. And you know what? It really is hard to blame him. The game this year, the 2012 Pro Bowl, it was bloody awful. It was horrible. It was an offensive, points aplenty, no defensive optional game where you had Larry Fitzgerald sprinting to the end zone and Darrelle Revis happily letting him score. That's not football. What is this? It's like the big kid picking on the little kid. The NFL Pro Bowl needs to either change, aka adapt, or die. The NFL has tried to fix it, but there's not that many great solutions for the Pro Bowl. Consider this. Other All-Star games, such as the MLB All-Star Game, NBA All-Star Game, even the NHL All-Star Game, have the luxury where you don't have to go 110% to have a good game. In baseball, you can still have a good All-Star Game just looking at the pitchers going against the hitters. You get different matchups. You get different players playing throughout the game. It's interesting theater, even though the game is usually low-scoring and I would consider somewhat boring. In the NBA, you get basically a game of NBA Street. And considering how many people grew up playing basketball in their communities and whatnot, it's a game a lot of people enjoy watching. You get a lot of razzle-dazzle, alley-oops. But football doesn't have the alley-oop or the home run, per se. They have touchdowns, but it's not fun to watch a touchdown when a guy is making a catch wide open and the defender's 10 yards behind him, not even making an effort. And I think that's the Pro Bowl's main issue. Now, the Pro Bowl, predominantly played in Hawaii throughout much of its history, tried moving the game to Miami in 2010. They tried their most recent format, moving the game to the week before the Super Bowl, in between that 2-week window, to sort of get excitement and appeal up for the game, which used to be played after the season. None of it has worked. And the problem with the most recent format is that you have the top 4 teams generally, or the teams that participate in the NFC Championship game and AFC Championship, and obviously the Super Bowl. Their players can't participate. I mean, the 49ers had, I believe, 8 players in the Pro Bowl. You know, the Patriots, you have Brady and Welker and all these guys, and the list goes on. And how do you have a Pro Bowl when you don't have the best players? Then factor in the fact of how many guys are hurt and missed the game. And what are we really looking at here? Are we looking at a all-star game, or are we looking at a pickup game? There's something about the NFL Pro Bowl game that I'm not sure if it can be fixed. You know, if you tried to put it halfway between the season, like most leagues do, you could split the season down the middle, 8 games into the year, and try to play it, but you're still not going to get anybody who plays hard. And in fact, you're probably going to get less of an effort. Pro football is a contact sport, and the thrills and the reason people love it is because it's such a hard-hitting, aggressive, tooth-and-nail sport. You know, baseball, you're throwing a ball, you're hitting a pitch, you're running the bases, you're not generally going against other people, it's usually your own athletic doing. Basketball, yeah, you might post up someone, you might aggressively try to block a shot, but you're not tackling someone. And that's the problem that football has. You can't really half-ass a football game because it's not going to look good. Football is popular because of the hits, because of the drama, because of the tension. And the Pro Bowl has none of that. You've got players tweeting on the sideline, guys laughing, joking around. This is like their vacation, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't make for a good game. It makes for a train wreck. And if you're the NFL, you have to think, our ratings are lower for this game than they are for the regular season. How can we fix this? Maybe it's not worth it. You know, you look at other leagues and, you know, the NBA or the MLB or NHL, All-Star Game appearances have some value. It feels like Pro Bowl appearances have very little value if you really think about it. Now, if you're an All-Pro, that's obviously a different story. But Pro Bowl and All-Pro are 2 different situations. And so when you look at it from that point of view, what is the point of the Pro Bowl? If it's to give these guys a vacation, why do we need to televise? The NFL had a really interesting little pre-events thing that they used to do on Saturday before the Pro Bowl, and obviously the horrific injury to one of the players during one of the sand football games a number of years ago pretty much ended that. So you don't have the pregame festivities that you do normally have. You don't have it in a host city. You don't. It's just sort of it's a giant disconnect. So you get this game that people tune in to watch for 5 minutes, and they go, wow, nobody's putting any effort into this game. This is pointless. The crowd isn't even full. Fans are booing. Hawaiians were booing the players the other day. I mean, you've got guys like Aaron Rodgers calling people out. It's a joke. It's a joke. And then to put it right before the Super Bowl, you've got a lot of guys who are still bitter about being not in the game, or still nursing injuries that they suffered through the playoffs. The idea on paper sounds great. Put together two really good football teams from the best players of that season. But it just doesn't work out on the field. It's a flawed product, and I'm not really sure there's any solution to fix it. There's a league, the Lingerie Football League, which is obviously a totally different animal. They play their all-star game before the season starts, which is a pretty unusual model. But I couldn't even see the NFL doing that because, again, no one wants to risk injury. Whereas the LFL players are trying to get their name out in lights and trying to build themselves up for the start of the season, NFL players are focused strictly on the regular season, the games at hand, making it to the playoffs, winning a championship. And that's it. These guys have short careers. Their shelf life might be 3 seasons, if they're lucky. Their contracts are not guaranteed, so they really have no incentive to put their body on the line for what amounts to an exhibition game. And when you take all those factors into account, some people have said don't pay the team that loses and give the team that wins some kind of big incentive. But you know what? At the end of the day, if players don't want to play because they just love the game, because they want to keep their bodies healthy, which, again, is completely understandable, then I don't think all the incentives in the world is going to change that. And most of the time, you're talking about millionaires to begin with. So if you throw out $20,000 bonuses to each guy, while that's a lot to your average person, such as myself or maybe whoever's listening on the other end of this, is that really that much to an NFL player to put their body on the line and to really give 110%? That's what I'm asking you. Should the NFL keep the Pro Bowl? I personally think it's an eyesore for the league and pretty much makes the league look bad. But the NFL is so immensely popular that it doesn't really matter because no one sits there and goes, the Pro Bowl ruined my love of the NFL. What do you think? Let us know. Follow us on Twitter at Juiced Sports Now. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/juicedsports. My name is Scott Jacobs. This is Juiced Sports Radio.